Hey, and welcome back to another video from my Vintage Tech Showcase playlist, the playlist of videos where I showcase older electronic devices in a form of retro style review. And what I have for you here today is the Motorola CRUSH from 2010. Now, you must be thinking, why are you holding the phone upside down? Let's get serious. Hold the phone the proper way. No, I'm actually holding it the proper way. This phone's special feature is that it's upside down. The buttons are at the top there, the lock button and the power button / call answer decline button, and the display, the chin at the bottom here this is actually the bottom, and this is how you basically hold the phone. I know it's weird, and I've explained all the design details about this phone in this video over here from my strange phones playlist. So if you already haven't seen that video, go ahead and pause this video, go watch that video, and you'll understand the design choices as to why they chose this design for this phone in this weird upside down form factor. And yeah, so if you want to go see the reasons why they selected this whack design, you can go ahead and watch that video. However, for a quick wrap up as to why the engineers or the designers chose this weird design, it's simple. It is a thumb phone. You hold the phone like this in one hand, and it's easier to access the buttons up top there rather than bringing your thumb down here. And you can do it with both hands. As you can see, it's much easier to do it like that than do that. So that's why they put the buttons up there and they made it sort of upside down-ish. So that's basically what I think is the main reason they chose this weird upside down design. The phone does look pretty nice when you hold it upside down as well. However, it is meant to be held like this, and that's why they chose that design. If you go ahead and watch that video, I give it in detail, but the main reason is it's a thumb phone. It's easier to do that than do this. This phone was released in 2010 on the US Cellular Network. It is a CDMA phone, so it has no SIM card slot, and it was produced in limited numbers. So it's not a phone that was mass produced or anything like that. It was produced in limited numbers, and it was only on the US Cellular Network. There isn't too much information about this phone online. If you go and look, there's just a few websites that mention this. I think CNET did a review, a very basic review on this thing. It's not a phone that has been covered a lot. And icing on the cake, this thing is extremely rare. Finding one of these is pretty hard, especially in working condition. I have another one over here which works, but the display is cracked, as you can see there. But the phone does work just fine. I gotta be just a bit careful with this phone, so I'll be featuring these two phones here in this video today. However, as far as now is concerned, these two phones were the last two on eBay, and I just bought both of them. So I don't know when another one of these will pop up on eBay, but because of its strange form factor, I can assume a lot of people did not want to buy this phone. It just looked weird and stuff like that. So I understand why a lot of people didn't buy this phone, and that's why it is rare today. And it was one of those phones that Motorola just released as a quirky little phone for a small network, just for some customers. It wasn't meant to be a very popular phone, and it was just for a few people. And according to the reviews, it was an okay phone. It's not a smartphone by any way, though it's fully touchscreen. It's got a capacitive touchscreen and stuff. It's not a smartphone. It is a feature phone with a few smartphone features, actually quite a lot of smartphone features. And however, it's not considered as a full-fledged smartphone. It is a semi-smartphone, but it does have a good selection of smartphone features. That's also nice to see. So it's one of those weird phones that are not exactly smartphones, but they got some features like the Sony Ericsson Yendo, and then a couple of other phones I've mentioned in the past. A good comparison is the Sony Ericsson Yendo. So yeah, this is what it is, and that's just a quick bit of history for the Motorola CRUSH. A pretty simple, straightforward phone. It's got a weird design that not everyone probably got used to in the day, and that's why it was in limited production, and that's why it probably didn't sell all too well. Anyway, that was just a bit of history on this phone, and we'll jump into the rest of the video now, go over the display, the software, and all the details, give you a camera, a set of camera samples, etc, etc. And as usual, before jumping right into the video, don't forget to smash that like button down below, as it helps this video get on YouTube's algorithm. And also don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below and ring that bell notification button so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Also, don't forget to leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about the Motorola CRUSH. Did you own one at some point? Do you want to get one for your collection? Or do you plan on getting one in the future for your collection? Or do you already have one in your collection? Whatever you want to let me know down in the comment section below. Go ahead and leave a comment or a question so I can answer your question, or we can start a discussion in the comment section below. So don't forget to leave a comment. Also, don't forget to check out my social media, which is linked down in the description below, which includes Instagram, Discord, and Twitter. And now let's jump right into the rest of this video. So of course, it's kind of obvious that the most noticeable and the most striking thing about this phone is its design, and we'll have a quick look at its design right now. So on the top of the phone, as you can see, we have the lock button, we have our ear speakers, and we have a separate set of what looks to be speakers, but those aren't actually speakers. The speaker is actually back here, and those are just cutouts there. And we have the ear speaker over here, and then we have the call slash power button as well, call, accept, decline slash power button there as well. The display is over here, we'll talk about that in a bit. We have a microphone cutout there for your to talk into. The Motorola logo, if I bring it closely, as you can see, there is a Motorola logo there slightly. It's a bit more visible on this one, as you can see, the Motorola logo there. Yeah, that's pretty simple at the bottom there. It's just got this chin-like thing. Usually people would want to hold it like that because the buttons are down there, but you actually have to hold it like this. So that is interesting. So that's the main selling point of this phone, it being a upside down phone-ish, and hence why I was so interested in this phone to begin with. Then we can now move on to the side of the phone. As you can see, it has a quick speech button, so you can open up voice memos or whatever speech access stuff you have set up. Then you have the micro SD expansion slot, up to 16 gigs of storage. Like I said, this is a CDMA phone, so it has no SIM card slot, so just the micro SD expansion slot. It also has a camera shutter button. As you can see, it's a simple single press button, so no autofocus. The camera on this thing is not autofocus, so no autofocus. At the bottom, we don't have anything, as you can see. Moving on to this side, we have a micro USB port over there. We have our volume rockers over there, and we have a 3.5mm headphone jack as well. This was in 2010, so it did have a 3.5mm headphone jack, as you can see there, so that is also nice. Moving on to the top of the phone, we have a grill-like thing there, but that's a fake grill. There's nothing that plays out of that grill, so it's just fake. And moving on to the back of the phone, we have the speakers. The actual speakers are down here, over here, as you can see there. Those are the actual speakers. We have a Motorola logo over there, and the rear-facing camera without a flash, of course. 2-megapixel rear-facing camera, which we'll talk about in a bit, and a rubberized plastic back as well. So overall, for build quality, it's a decently built phone. It feels solid in the hand. It is not a tank by any means. As you can see, this one is severely damaged there, but the rest of the phone, it does feel decent for what it is. This was the original price of this phone. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but that's the original price of this phone, and for what it is, it's not too bad. It feels really nice in the hand. The rubberized back does feel nice. It does become a bit sticky over time, but that is what it is. For a budget US cellular phone, it is not too bad. It feels rather solid. It doesn't flex or bend or anything like that. It's not a tank, like I said, but it is a overall very well built phone for what it is, for its price and stuff. And this form factor is definitely the biggest selling point. Like I said, you can control the whole phone with your thumb, and the buttons are easy access at the top instead of having to move it at the bottom. So interesting design there, and yeah, one of the most unique phones I've ever seen. Probably one of the few phones with an upside down configuration. There's another phone, this one over here, I forgot what it was called. I'll put it after the image what it was called. That phone also is upside down, but apart from that, I could not find any other upside down-ish phones. A very interesting design. Nevertheless, it is interesting to see that they went with this design choice. Overall, a decently built phone for what it is. Really interesting form factor, and I really like it at the end as well, because it's unique, and you know how I see unique phones. If it's unique, if it looks weird, it's in my collection. That's just my logic. Anyway, that was the design and build quality. Now let us discuss the display on this thing. So to start things off, this thing uses a TFT LCD technology. So it is not a IPS LCD technology, which is superior to TFT LCD technology. It was a budget phone in 2010. So only only like upper mid ranges and higher end phones were featured with IPS LCD technology. Phones like this, budget phones and lower mid ranges, they stuck with TFT LCD technology because it's easier and cheaper to produce. However, even here in 2022, I've seen some super budget Walmart phones for like $30 with TFT LCD technology. So it's not a completely dead technology, but it's much cheaper to produce than IPS LCD technology. And this phone has the 256,000 colors for color complement. So it's not exactly it's not exactly as good as 16 million colors. It's not the full color palette. However, it's much better than 65,000 colors, because you notice the difference between 65,000 colors and 256,000 colors. So definitely much better than 256,000 colors. However, when you're looking at much better, more high quality modern images taken from modern cameras, you'll notice the difference between 256,000 colors and 16 million colors as well. But then again, this was a budget phone from 2010, so 256,000 colors, TFT LCD technology was no big deal. It got the job done. So the display on this thing is 2.8 inches, so it's towards the smaller side, so 2.8 inches like that diagonally, with a resolution of 240 by 400 pixels, so 240 by 400 pixels, and that gave it a rough pixel density of about 168 pixels per inch. So that was what you could expect at the time from a budget phone from a small provider like US Cellular, and the display gets the job done. It's quite bright as well. It's a really bright display, and for its size, I mean, the phone itself is small, so the display had to be small. And like I said, the design was to use the phone with your thumbs like that, so it had to be a smaller display as well, hence why they went with the 2.8 inches. It's bright, and for what colors you get, the 256,000 colors, the colors are accurate, they're sharp, they're overall pretty good. They're like I said, accurate, but decently accurate is a better description, because again, it's 256,000 colors. You don't get all the colors, but they are accurate, they are sharp for what the pixel density is. The display is really bright. Outdoor performance is really nice. You can see really well outdoors, so they did a really good job with the display. Even though it's a pretty basic display, they did put some effort into the display. So overall, a perfectly above average display for 2010 for a budget phone. And if you're like me and you have experience using older devices in modern times just for the fun of it, and if you're a collector, you'll be perfectly happy looking at this display. However, if you've come from like an iPhone 13 Pro Max or a Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra and you have no experience with older phones, of course you're going to hate it because you're used to more modern OLED AMOLED displays. However, as a whole, this display is really decent for what price range it was at and for its time. So a big thumbs up on the display. Now, in terms of tech specs on this thing, I couldn't really find too much in the way of it, but then again, it is a feature phone with a few smartphone features. It's not going to be a powerhouse. The processor on this thing, again, I could not find anywhere online. I'll have to take this thing apart and look at the codes on the die and then run them on Google and then see what shows up. But I'm pretty sure it's probably around 500 to 600 megahertz single core Texas Instruments processor of some kind. So you can go back on record and just look what were the most common Texas Instruments processors in the 500 to 600 megahertz range for single core back in 2010. And most probably it's going to be one of those processors. I just could not find anything about it online. I also could not find the RAM on this thing, but I'm pretty sure it's about either 128 MB or maybe at max 256 megs of RAM. But most likely it's 128 megs of RAM. Looking at other phones from Motorola at the time with identical features and identical purposes, like for example a super budget smartphone on a smaller network, you can say to a certain extent that this thing probably has just a 128 megs of RAM. And in terms of internal storage, it has about 190 megs of internal storage roughly. And like I said, it has a micro SD expansion slot where you can expand up to 16 gigs of internal storage. So internally 190 megs and expandable up to 16 gigs of storage. It can also store 1,000 entries in its phone book. So like I said, it's not a smartphone. It does not have unlimited entries. So 1,000 entries in its phone book, and just a few other unimpressive feature phone features, just like voice recorder and stuff on the side like that. Like I said, there's a voice access button. When you press it, you can go into a voice recorder or commands, like you can see here. You can also set that to voice recorder if you want, but nevertheless, nothing too spectacular in terms of specs for the Motorola CRUSH from 2010. So the OS on this thing is a proprietary OS of some sort. I don't know exactly what it is called, but I'm pretty sure it's a Linux-based OS of some sort, a very basic Linux-based OS of some sort. Let me know down in the comment section below if you know what this OS is called, but I currently could not find anything online regarding what this OS is called. It's a simple OS made to be used with one finger. Like I said, the phone is meant to be used with one finger. Everything is accessible with a single finger, and you can use it with the side of your thumb like this. You don't really have to do that either. The touchscreen is really responsive with the side of your thumb. This is the main home screen. As you can see here, you have your profile setting over there to show what it's set on. Now it's on silent. Time, date, your of course your service provider, your wallpaper that you can change. Then up top here you have your battery indicator there with 3 levels, and over here indicates your GPS. Now this phone, like I said, is a feature phone, and this actually has GPS built into it. Now it's SGPS because it's a CDMA phone and it needed a special sort of GPS. It's called SGPS for simultaneous GPS, so it can receive and transmit CDMA signals, CDMA phone signals, while also transmitting and receiving GPS location. So that is a slightly different GPS than what you'd normally find on a GSM phone, but this phone does have GPS in the form of SGPS. I don't know exactly what that 1x means, but I'm pretty sure it's something to do with the signals. The thing still detects the old US cellular signals from the CDMA network, but of course you can't get coverage on this phone in 2022. You have your new text, dial pad, calls, and phone book as well. And the way to go into the menu is you press and hold, and it vibrates, and there's your menu. So settings, Bluetooth, tone room, tools, easy edge, multimedia, data book, date book, Pac-Man. Pac-Man is the only game on this phone as far as I can tell. We have music player over there. We have phone info, your navigator, and messages, and that's all. You can't do anything else. Under multimedia, you have your ringtones, your sounds, your pictures, your camera, your camcorder, which is separate, but weirdly you can access camcorder within the camera app as well. So that's a bit strange. To play music, as you can see, you have to add a micro SD card. You cannot have music on the internal storage. It would not play, so you need a micro SD card. Phone info shows your phone number built into the phone and all the other information as well. You have settings here, which also has your memory and all that stuff. Your automatic storage, you can select to go to either the SD card or the internal memory. And here is phone memory again. It shows you the roughly 190 megs of storage there. A pretty basic OS meant to be used with one hand. Nothing too complicated here. And then we have Pac-Man here as well. We can quickly demo Pac-Man, but cannot find Pac-Man by Namco on your phone. Press yes to search catalog. Okay, so there's a small shop-like thing, like a small store-like thing set up there called Easy Edge, but it's very, very basic. Let's see if Pac-Man will run on this one. There we go. So Pac-Man runs on this one. This is a demo version. Of course, you have a limited number of tries to run this. Start Pac-Man with sound, yes. And demo, new game, start. Okay, controls, play. So there's your Pac-Man. Wait, I've forgotten how to play this. Do you actually kill the creatures over there? Or... Oh, right. I'm an idiot. But yeah, you get the general gist of that. I'm an idiot. I thought you actually have to eat the creatures and not the small dots on the screen. I haven't played Pac-Man in ages. I've completely forgotten, so kind of stupid of me there. But yeah, so Pac-Man demo version. You have your Easy Edge store, so you can buy a few apps and stuff off the Easy Edge store. It's a pretty basic store for this phone. Of course, it has to have a store of some sort. But yeah, it's pretty basic OS. Nothing too major in terms of that. It is what it is. Pretty simple OS to be used with a single thumb. Probably Linux based of some sort, but I cannot confirm. Nevertheless, very, very simple and very easy to use as well. Now, the camera on this phone surprised me quite a lot, because for a fixed focus 2 megapixel shooter from all the way back in 2010, this thing shoots some really decent images. Now, you cannot judge this phone from a 2022 perspective. You have to put yourself in the shoes of a user from 2010 who paid a decently low price for this phone. And for what it is, it does shoot some really nice images despite being fixed focus and not even having a flash or anything like that. A ultra basic camera. Remember, this was a budget phone. Also, here is the video resolution and the frames per second over there. I'll put it up there when I get it off my computer. I cannot find it anywhere online, but when I do get it off my computer and figure it out, I'll put it up there. So the frames per second and the resolution over there. Overall, a pretty decent camera for what it is. Now let us go into the camera interface here, and you can access the camera interface either by pressing the button here or going into multimedia and selecting camera there. You can access camcorder from the interface here itself, but camcorder is also in there separately if you go into multimedia, which is weird, but whatever. And it's strange that a phone like this with such a basic camera has a dedicated camera button, but some other higher end phones that have actually really good dedicated cameras that are meant to be good for their price range don't have dedicated camera buttons. But this camera has a dedicated camera shutter button. It's not, of course, like I said, it's a fixed focus camera, so it does not have half press to autofocus and then full press to take a photo. So it's just a simple one press shutter button there, and the camera interface is ultra basic. As you can see, you have no options whatsoever. So over here you got this digital zoom options up and down, just a simple digital zoom. Then you have back, you have gallery, you have your camcorder over there, and you have the number of pictures left depending on what storage you have. I have about 153 megs, so that's the amount of pictures you can take with 153 megs, and it's about 550 maybe with the full 190 megs of internal storage. And if you add a 16 gig micro SD card, that'll go into like 20,000 plus images. So you don't have to worry about storage there. The resolution of this camera is pretty basic. It's just a 2 megapixel shooter. However, when you see the camera samples, you're going to be quite surprised with the photos this phone takes. Now, when I went out today to take photos, it was a really bright day outside. It was nice and bright. So this thing does need a lot of sunlight. However, when it does get the sunlight it needs, the photos are actually really, really nice. So honestly, a very nice camera. And we'll roll the images and the video samples in 3, 2, 1. So as you saw with those camera samples, this phone can actually take some really decent images for a budget phone with a fixed focus camera from 2010. Like I said, again, you cannot judge this phone from 2022 standards. You have to put yourself into the shoes of a user back in 2010. And those images and even the video are pretty impressive, to say the least, for what this phone is. Now, in terms of extra features, like I said, this is a semi-smartphone, basically a dumb phone with features from a smartphone. Now, like I already mentioned, this thing has SGPS, which is simultaneous GPS. For a CDMA phone, it has to be simultaneous GPS because to receive and transmit CDMA and GPS signals at the same time. So it's got a special GPS receiver. Not a lot of dumb phones in 2010 even had basic GPS. They just used the cellular towers to navigate when you're using your turn-by-turn navigation or whatever. However, this phone does have a form of GPS. So again, like I said, this is it's a feature phone with smartphone features. However, it's not entirely a smartphone. A bunch of other features also exist in this phone, such as, like I said, the voice command button. When you press the voice command button, you can actually command the phone to do stuff. You can also have that to voice memos as well. It has the camera shutter button. You can count that as an extra feature as well. It has a really good expansion capacity, up to 16 gigabytes. So that's also impressive if you want to load a lot of music in and stuff. It has a basic store as well. Like I said, the Easy Edge store. It has a few basic apps. It of course doesn't work here in 2022, but it did have some basic apps. And there are some games on there as well. You can pay and buy them. It also has this tone room thing where you can use all sorts of custom tones and stuff. It doesn't work on that phone. Let us see if it works on this phone. The tone room thing, I don't think it works. Let us see. Oh, so tone room doesn't work on that, but it works on this. And Pac-Man works on this, but doesn't work on that. But as you can see, of course, it's not going to load here in 2022. It's stuck like that. So yeah, so it has a bunch of really nice extra features. Like I said, it is a semi-smartphone. It's not exactly a smartphone, but it is definitely getting there in terms of the features it has. Not all dumb phones at the time had SGPS or any form of GPS to begin with, so that is also quite impressive. And like I said, there's a bunch of other small features hidden in this phone that also make it a semi-smartphone and not entirely a dumb phone. So overall, quite a good package for what you pay for. Now for a quick speaker demo on this phone, and this thing has a single firing mono speaker, a rear firing single mono speaker. And this speaker is extremely loud. It's really loud, but it's also not tinny or crackly or anything like that. And it can easily be counted as an extra feature if you wanted to use the speaker to play your music and stuff. It is extremely loud, and it sounds really nice as well. Now we'll go into multimedia and we'll play some ringtones because we can't play music for obvious reasons. And stay tuned in the future, in probably a few weeks, we'll be doing a full ringtones video on this phone because it has a ton of ringtones, as you can see here. So a lot of ringtones. So definitely stay tuned by subscribing for the full ringtones video on my nostalgic ringtones playlist for this phone. So that's coming up in a few weeks. So we have max volume here. We'll go over a few ringtones. So as you can see, the speaker is extremely loud and also really clear and not tinny or not crackly or anything like that. Easily another feature that you can count on the Motorola CRUSH. So for battery and power, the Motorola CRUSH actually has a really good battery life for what it is. Now as you can see, it has the BN60 battery there, a very versatile Motorola battery. Let me take it out here. It's a bit hard to get out there. So the Motorola BN60 battery, which is a 3.4 watt hour, 930 milliamp hour battery, as you can see here. And with this battery, Motorola rated it at about 4.3 hours of talk time and about 20 hours of standby time. However, when CNET tested it out, now this is according to CNET, it actually can go above 6 hours in terms of talk time, but the 20-day standby time is accurate. So about 20.8 days, so almost 21 days of standby time. So 21 days of standby time and about 6 hours of talk time, which for this phone with a 930 milliamp hour battery is quite decent at the end of the day. Actually quite good, to be honest. It'll last you throughout the day. And now the battery is old here in 2022. However, in its heyday, it would have got the job done perfectly fine. So that was battery and power here on the Motorola CRUSH. A pretty decent battery life and a really good standby time of about roughly 21 hours as well. So yeah, we've come to the end of this video, and this was the Motorola CRUSH from 2010, the upside down phone, the phone with a weird upside down design, but as of the review, it is a really interesting phone with a really interesting design, a thumb use design that you can use with your thumbs on either of your hands. Really good battery life as well, and a surprising camera and a bunch of good features for basically what you paid. It has a lot of good features, especially the GPS navigation on this thing, and the small app store, and then the camera shutter button, the voice navigate, the voice options there you also have, and you can set that to voice memos as well, and a bunch of good features for a basic phone with smartphone features. So that's what you could expect at that price range. Definitely whoever bought this phone made use of those features and was happy with it. It didn't sell too well because of its odd shape, and it was on a smaller network, and was probably not mass produced, but still a very interesting phone, and definitely a phone that I love keeping in my collection. Now, like I said earlier, if you want to get your hands on one of these, you may have to wait a while because they don't always show up on eBay, but they do eventually show up, and they cost pretty decent as well. They're not too expensive. I got these for about I can't remember the exact prices. Either way, both of them were less than $40. So yeah, it is what it is. Just keep an eye out on eBay if you want to get your hands on one of these. They're not that rare, but they are rare. They are rare. They're up there, but they're not like Motorola prototype level rare. They're not prototype level rare, but they are rare. Nevertheless, a very interesting phone from many years ago with this odd upside down design. Easily one of my most favorite Motorola phones, and a phone that I really enjoy using and messing around with. Nevertheless, this was the retro style review of the Motorola CRUSH from 2010, the upside down phone. And if you honestly like this video, don't forget to leave a big thumbs up on the like button down below, and don't also forget to hit that subscribe button down below and ring that bell notification button so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Also, don't forget to leave a comment or a question down in the comment section below so we can start a discussion, or I can answer your questions or whatever you have regarding the Motorola CRUSH, whether you want to get your hands on one, whether you own one at some point, you already have one of these in your collection, whatever you want to let me know, leave a comment down below. We can start a discussion, or I can answer your questions. Also, don't forget to check out my social media, which is linked down in the description below. Thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in my next video.